Hi, my name's Kevin Grubbs, and on this week's Smart Tips and Tricks, we're going to be talking about everything archery, from pulling your bow out for the first time this season to building a brand new bow for the first time from start to finish. So stay tuned and let's get started. All right, coming to you from Virginia, my bow shop / garage. It's the dog days of summer. We're in the middle of July. We're thinking about deer. My brain is always consumed with that. But more importantly, what about my archery equipment? You may be picking it up for the very first time after a long, hard season. First time you're gonna be looking at it. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna do some physical inspection of the bow to make sure that our equipment is operating functionally well, that we've not torn any strings. So some things that you're gonna wanna check out and look for during that inspection is, of course, main one is your string. So the first things that I'll look for is what condition my string is. A lot of wax companies out there, are good to put on your string to maintain that string throughout the season. Some of your newer strings may not require wax like this one right here, but throughout the season, you're gonna get frayed, you're gonna be snagging it on brush, etc. So this is one of the main places where you're gonna do some physical inspections. You're looking for anything that is like a strand that is popped or cut, naturally a fray that is really out of place. That could cause damage or could cause an issue later as you're shooting. Some other places of concern, to make sure your cams don't have any burrs. A lot of times when you're lifting that bow in and out of a tree, you're bumping it on a rock, you're walking it in, etc. You can get burrs along these cams. And that burr can, of course, cut that cable, and that's what you don't want to happen. You're also looking for string separation between your serving here on the cam. If you're starting to see spaces or gaps between that serving, that's another indication that your string is probably stretched, your serving's coming loose. It's time to re-inspect or probably even consider replacing that string. So we're actually taking a look at that today. Making sure our peep sight's still in, our D-Loop is still in good condition. It's not got any frays because that's the pivot point behind the whole machine. So if that's no good, your bow's no good. So you want to make sure this is in good operating condition. Then we'll go to the inspection of our rest. This is a limb-driven rest, so it's going to have, of course, it's got a cable there as well. I'm looking for any frays there. And then, of course, the rest itself, making sure that that's operating functionally okay. And just a general inspection of your limbs. Again, your cams, your riser, etc. And just making sure overall it's still in good operating condition the way you left it before the season ended last year. This bow I've ran for 2 years now. I just replaced the strings a couple of weeks ago, so I know this piece of equipment is in good operating form. There's no frays, no issues that I should be concerned with. But if you do find an issue with whether your D-Loop or your Peep Sight, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a brand new bow here, Mathews Lift 33, and we're going to tie in a D-Loop. We're going to show you how to do that. Then we're going to follow with a Peep Sight. We're going to serve that in as well. Many ways to tie this in. So I've already got my end burnt, my first end. Some would burn that afterwards. What I'm going to do now, important part is to make sure you're taking slack out of this knot, crimping it where you can, make it flat. Pulling as much out as you possibly can. All right, that's solid. So we tightened this up. Now we're going to come on the back side, come through, come around, and back through again. Okay. Good starting point for a D-Loop length is about 3/4 of an inch. That's what we're shooting for. The only tricky part is really when you're tightening this up in the slack. you know, over time, you know, you're going to get a little bit of stretch. That's going to lengthen a little bit. D-loop length can be pretty critical. It does affect your draw length. So you want to make sure you're pretty close to what you're comfortable with. So we're going to start it there, and we're going to assume we're going to get some stretch out of this joker. So what I want to do, take my pliers, squeeze that, and then start to wrap. What I'm doing is actually pulling a lot of this slack out of this knot out. Now, got another tool here, helps to stretch this out. So that's pretty solid right there. Make sure I get some more slack out of here. I don't want to get any hate comments out there. Perfect. One more time. Solid. All right, so now we're going to cut this tag in and burn it. I'm going to do about 1/4 of an inch. Maybe a little less. Set that off to the side. We're going to fray this down. Remember, if you're putting flame, make sure you're going up, not under that string. This is just going to be melting that in. Creating a little ball there. Perfect. That shouldn't go anywhere. So, D-loops installed. Probably a little under 3/4 of an inch. Perfect. Like I said, if I get back there and my hold is erratic or it feels too short, I'll lengthen it. I'll cut it off and lengthen it. You should be able to learn how to tie these because it's critical when you're doing your own tuning and tinkering. It's always nice to do the simple things instead of making a special trip down the road to get somebody to spend 5 minutes to do it themselves. All right, so to tie in the Peep, I'm using a BCY 14th thous power grip. It's thin enough, strong enough to do a lot of tie-ins on your string, so I prefer that. So what we're going to start off with is 2 foot sections of serving here to start. First pro tip here, I like to use wax to pull over the string. That way it'll give it a little bit more grip. When you're tying these overhand knots, it helps to keep it together and keep those tight. So always put a little wax on there. So we're going to go around our Peep through the center groove. Make sure we're pretty close to even there. We're going to do an overhand knot. And we're going to come down to one side. Make sure when you do this that your string, your serving is in the groove. Very important that it is. So we'll do that. Pull that off to the side. Make sure, like to visually inspect. And we'll take our other piece, again another overhand. We're going to go over the top of the first knot, okay? We're gonna go to the side, the opposite side. Okay. Make sure that's all in there. Tighten that up. Looks like we're set. Then I'm gonna finish this knot off. Pulling it right through. I'm gonna go back to the original side, and I'm gonna complete another knot over top of it. That way it'll tie both of those knots together. Make sure they don't go anywhere. I'll finish with another overhand. There we go. So we've got 2 tag ends, 4 tag ends, 2 on either side. So what we're gonna be doing is tying half hitches, starting from the bottom. Then we'll move up this up to the same side on the top side. What I have found is that this method of tying it doesn't put any strain on the actual string itself, which can cause a little bit of peep rotation after you're all said and done. So I like to do it this way. Keeps it pretty much straight, like you can see right here on the video. It also allows that if you do want to add or need to add a peep tuner, which some aftermarket industry sell, you can put those in the string itself, top or bottom, without having a bunch of serving that is keeping you from doing that. So we're gonna start from the bottom. We're gonna go top and through, half hitch. And we're gonna pull it tight all the way through. It meets that other knot, okay? We're gonna continue to tie in the same fashion. It's probably gonna be about 10 until you get to the edge of your peep. This is a long peep, so it may even be more of that, but we're gonna continue to tie these. So that's 2. 3. At 14. So on this bottom end, we were going top through. This top end, we're gonna go from the bottom up, okay? Then again, half hitch. Bring it down, cinch it up to the knot, there we go. Again, bottom, so that was 1. 2. All right, 14. 14 on each end. I like to wrap and pull against it, each other. All right, so we're through with that side. Rinse and repeat, ladies and gentlemen. So now I'm gonna start on the other side. I went under, I'm gonna go up top this time. One. All right, so we've tied that off. As you can see, peep has stayed perfectly in line. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut these tag ends and burn them. We're gonna cut about 1/4 inch. Quarter of an inch. All right, important thing about burning when you're so close to your string, it's not to burn the string. So you're going to turn your string up. Always use your flame to where it's pointing up, okay? I'm just going to melt that down and mash. Mash, okay. Okay. So Up next, we're going to tune this bow. We're gonna get it shooting like darts, okay? Then we're gonna move to paper tuning. We're gonna show you how to build a paper tuner. We're actually gonna give that away as well, along with this brand new bow that we're building up. It's gonna be fully outfitted, ladies and gentlemen. And so excited to do that for you. Make sure if you wanna win this bow that you check out the description below and click on the link. All the instructions are there for you to win this wonderful Mathews Lift 33. All right, so we're gonna build this paper tuner. A couple things that you're gonna need. A saw, a tape measure. What I'm using is pre-cut lengths. You can buy them at Lowe's. I bought these at Lowe's. 3/4 inch PVC. These were 2 foot lengths. We're gonna cut these down to 17.5 inches each. The only one that varies from the 3/4 inch is the one that is 1/2 inch that your paper roll will actually sit upon. So that's your only difference in your diameter for these. I'm going to start cutting the lengths pre-measured that I've already have right here, and basically we will during our description we'll list all that, of course, the cut sheet and what parts, pieces, etc. This is all under 70 bucks at your local Home Depot, Lowe's, etc. So let's get started. Now that we've got all these cut, I'm gonna lay them out. I'm not gonna glue this. We're gonna lay it out, make sure everything fits, and assemble it from there. All right, so this is the general outline of the base. Just making sure that I have all the parts and pieces cut, proper length, etc. Guys, this assembly, this build shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. It took me less than 2 minutes to cut the lengths. Again, they were purchased pre-cut to 24 inches. I cut them down to 17.5. Got a couple of 12 inches in here. Now we're ready to get the legs standing up, and we'll assemble that part too. So we've got our first 2 legs. Put a couple of 3-ways in here. Oh, let's see. So, important to remember, I'm not gluing any of this together, but when you get this at home, because we are giving this away with the lucky winner of the bow, I would recommend, so you can get the paper roll on and off, you can glue everything together except these 2 top rails that we're getting ready to assemble now. Don't glue one side of them. So if I were y'all, I would glue maybe like this side, leave this side unglued. We've got our smaller lengths here. You'll need a special elbow that accepts the 3/4 inch pipe as well as the 1/2 inch. Again, glue one side, not the other. That way you can take this off. You'll disassemble it, put your roll in, reassemble it. All right, that took less than a minute. At this point, now we're just gonna assemble it to the base. For me personally, in order to store this, I do not glue the base to the legs either, because it's nice. It'll pack up really tight, flat up against the wall, totally out of the way. And there you go, minus the paper. You can order those paper rolls, 50-foot lengths at Amazon. I would make sure the paper that you're using is a good Butcher brand paper, something stiff. You don't want it too loose, too soft. You We want to make sure that those tears are crisp and clean. Now, we will provide a cut sheet for all the parts and pieces, the lengths of tube, pipe, and how to assemble it. If you've got any questions or you have a different way of doing this, make sure you drop that in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. All right, guys, it's that time. We are going to be paper tuning our bow. Like I said before, we already built our paper tuner and assembled it. If you'd like to see complete instructions on how that went down, just look above in the link above, and you can click right to that video. But now what we're going to be doing is shooting paper. I'm about 8 feet away. That's a good starting point. And we're going to be looking for a bullet hole. If it's a right or left tear, we'll make adjustments to the top hats and or the rest. We'll explain as we go. So stay tuned. Form is pretty important here because torque will cause many things to go wrong. So this is a 30-inch draw. I'm 29, but we're gonna make the best of it and see how we go. So here we go, our first shot. All right, close, very close. Looks like a little tear high, but left and right looks good. What we're gonna do to make sure is shoot it again. Same hole. So it looks like, just looking at that, it's actually tail high and to the left. So we need to adjust our rest accordingly. That basically just means that the arrow or the rest needs to come down a little bit because it's actually kicking up, okay? All right, so we had a high left tear. So in order to compensate for that, make the adjustments, I've moved the rest up. I followed the tear about 1/16 of an inch. So we're gonna try to see if we can get that shooting flat first. And sometimes it actually will take out the left tear, but let's shoot first and see where we're at. Did not move it much, but let's try it again. So what we're gonna do is adjust the rest again. We're gonna move it up about another, I'm gonna say a little bit higher, about 1/16 of an inch. If you find that you're starting to make too many adjustments, you can always go back and retie your D-loop and change that as well. All right, a little goes a long way. So we moved it about another 1/16. So we're just shy, probably we're shy under 1/8 of an inch. So we're gonna see if that does anything. All right, guys, that is a bullet hole. After several adjustments up, we were able to take that high tear out. And we didn't need any left or right of adjustments, but if it was tearing left or right, we would have moved the rest opposite of the tear. Or if it was so dramatic, we would have taken the top hats and adjusted those. So no right or left adjustments needed. Like I said before, sometimes if you're adjusting the height, it will take out a right or left if it's small enough. That's why I didn't feel like I needed to adjust any of the top hats at this moment. So now that we're finished, we are gonna put up above a reference chart. There's so many things that can impact or make your bow shoot right or left, up or down. So your arrows could be spined improperly, your torque, face pressure, so many things can impact that. But we're gonna put in a reference chart just so you can know how to compensate and mitigate some of the changes or some of the tears that you're experiencing. All right, so for the second axis, the first thing we're gonna do is we're making sure that we have a level, a good solid level. This is actually set to our string. And as you can see, I'm using a vise that holds that pretty steady. As you can see, we're level with our bubble here on our string. We're not level on our sight. You can see the difference between the bubbles there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna adjust the second axis, and that's this axis, whether this sight will move tip up or down. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna move around here. We've got 2 adjustment screws to loosen this. And what we'll do is basically loosen these to make sure we can make our proper adjustments, okay? Now, I'm gonna check this. I've loosened this up. I'm gonna move it, sort of tighten it like that. Come back here, check your bubble. Pretty solid there. I got lucky, but I'll take it. We're gonna tighten the bottom as well. Make sure everything is secure. Sometimes when you do secure these screws, it can adjust the level, so you always want to come back and check. So you can see that's pretty solid. Again, I'm going to check, tighten, make sure everything is secure. You don't want anything coming loose in the field. All right, check one last time. That's pretty solid. Now that we've got our second axis set, we're gonna move on to our third axis. That's gonna require, for the first tool that I like to use, that we're gonna remove the sight from the bow. We're gonna install it in this nifty little tool here by Bright Sight. I'm sure these are still sold. If you can go to Lancaster Archery, then you can grab them off their website. So let's go ahead and remove this out. All right, so when it comes to the third axis, as we had mentioned, your pins, or your bubble rather, you want to make sure those are all square plumb to the string, to the bow. Make sure that you're shooting straight down range so you're not getting any right or left misses. Why that is important on the third axis, again, I'm no scientist, but that third axis, if I turn this bow, the sight this way, that third axis is the housing rotating this way, okay? Which, however it affects, it does affect the bubble. So if it is not set properly, again, and you're drawing back and you're shooting uphill at an elk of a lifetime, or downhill out of a tree stand at a big whitetail, and you're bubbling in, that sight can actually do that, which can again cause right or left misses. So we want to make sure that even if we're at full draw shooting downhill or uphill, that our bubble is true. So we're going to make an adjustment to this housing to make sure that when it's pivoted down or pivoted up, that we're still bubble true. This tool here, like I said, is a good starting point. Get you to see what your bubble is doing at extreme downhill or uphill. So this allows you, this tool here allows you to actually loosen and pivot this up or down, okay? So for this demonstration, I'm gonna actually set it over here. I can level the tool itself to my bench, which I've done there. Now, I will actually pivot this down about a 45, and I'll see where my bubble goes. Okay, we're still level on my bench, and now as I'm looking, looks like I'm a little bubble left, so the bubble is actually moved to the left a little bit. We're going to make some slight adjustments on this particular spot hog sight. You're going to loosen one screw, tighten the other. That'll allow that to pivot in or out. We're gonna first try the inward to pivot that sight housing inward and see what that does. Third axis, just if you know, you got 2 screws here on either side of that housing. Again, a stubby wrench is critical for that. They do send you one. So we're gonna actually pivot this. Last we looked, it was bubble left, so we're actually gonna go back the other way. So we're gonna loosen this inward screw, this inside screw, tighten the outside. See where we set. It's coming together. I'm going to tighten that a little bit more. Oh, that's money. So I've got it set. So what I'm going to do now is ever so slightly just tighten this back up on itself. All right, so per this tool, we've got our third axis set. All right, I want to show y'all another tool that we use that's really great for setting in your third axis as well. It's a ham skew tool. It attaches to the rail of your sight, which is, again, it's all been balanced and it's plumb, and we're going to actually be able to draw the bow back and aim downward on a plumb line and line these 2 points up. That's going to allow us to see if our third axis truly is in. You can also use this tool to draw your bow and aim up. A lot of times if you're in your house and you don't have a plumb line, you've got tall ceilings like we do here, we'll actually use one of the walls. I'll check the level of the wall and I'll draw up if I've got a corner, and I'll use the same tool lining it up that way. Great way to get started. Again, like I had mentioned before, you really want to shoot these third axis in, and that's basically just getting out to the range. If you've got the opportunity to shoot uphill or downhill extreme distances, that's the best way. So in order to use this tool, we're going to attach it to our rail of our sight. Pretty simple, straightforward device here. Loosen this up. And tighten. All right, so now we've got a plumb line established over here, so I'm going to come to full draw, and we're actually going to line this point with this point to the plumb line. That should allow us to see if our third axis truly is at a good starting point. So when I come to full draw, I'm going to be, again, lining up top and the bottom points to my plumb line, and then checking my bubble to see where we're at. All right, come down at a good angle. And what I'm doing here, I'm again lining up my top and bottom points, and then I'm referencing my bubble on the sight. It looks like at the moment we're perfect. So let down. So now that we've confirmed both tools have worked to get our third axis in, so now it's time to hit the range. All right, so the first thing I like to do when sighting in a bow for the first time is I look to the left and right. That's the easiest one to adjust. I'm starting at 20 yards. We want to make sure my right and left are hitting pretty much center. I've got a piece of tape out there that's vertical. I'm not concerned about hitting a dot or anything. I just want to make sure my left and right are good. So I'm just literally focusing on that vertical line of tape.
That angle's running, right, Austin?
Yep. Okay. So we're to the left a little bit. I always like to shoot in groups of 3. That was dead center, and we are, I'd say, about 2.5 inches high. Again, not necessarily concerned with that, but rather the vertical line of tape. So after 3 shots, it looks like I've got 2 to the left, 1 in the center, so that could be me, of course. So what I'm going to do is make my adjustment now, and when you're making your adjustments, you want to follow your arrow. So it's to the left, the arrows are to the left, so I'm going to move my sight to the left. To do that, we're just loosening this clamp. We're going to click it over. All right, pulled my arrows, made a 5-click adjustment to the left. You see where we end up now. Center. All right, after those adjustments, I'm happy with my windage. I'm hitting the vertical line right there, dead center from 20 yards of what my bad eyes can see. So I'm happy with that. We'll fine tune it later. The important thing to remember is when sighting in a bow, I mean, you're gonna shoot good one day, bad the next. So just be patient, it's not a race. So take your time, make sure you're flexible in your adjustments. But I'm happy where we're at now. So we're gonna pull these arrows and then we're gonna start our horizontal, or rather our vertical, our up and down of our 20-yard pin. All right, we pulled our arrows. Now I'm gonna be focusing on that horizontal line to get my 20-yard pin sighted in. So let's start there. A little high. All right, pretty consistent in our elevation, so we'll make some adjustments. Same that we did on the vertical, we're following the arrow. So what I need to do to bring that arrow down, to hit that line, is to bring my sight up. I'm hitting high, so we're gonna bring the sight up and make our adjustments. Depending on what sight you have, I've got a dead stop established already, so I can't go any higher on this one. So I've actually got to make an adjustment to the pin itself. We're gonna loosen up the side pin in this side housing, and then we're gonna adjust the elevation from below. So I made my adjustments. I adjusted the pin vertically to compensate or to match where my arrow was hitting. Just reshot it. We're dead center. Now that we've got our 20-yard center line, we're actually gonna move back to 30 yards and repeat the process. We'll do it again at 40 as well. What we're doing is adjusting the elevation of, or the pin gap between 20, 30, and 40-yard pins. Regardless of your, if you've got 3 pins, 5 pins, 7 pins, you're gonna continue with this process. You're gonna rinse and repeat. You're gonna do each one 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 on out, if you've got pins to accommodate that. We've got 3, so we're gonna shoot out to 40. Rinse and repeat, easy process. All right, guys, we're done. We've sighted in for 20, 30, and 40. So if you've got a fixed pin sight, 3 pins, we're all set. We're all done. If you've got a movable sight, we're gonna now apply calibration tape. We're gonna start out at 20 and walk our way back to 30, 40, 50, 60 yards, the whole time moving this dial using the top 20-yard pin. That's key. Once we get back to 60 and we feel comfortable with that, we're gonna look down on that tape, that calibration tape. It's gonna have a number. We're gonna find the sight tape that correlates with that number, apply it. We should be good. All right, guys, so we finished in the sighting in process. We have put on the calibration tape. We started out at 20 yards, we backed it out to 60. We've landed on sight tape or calibration number 23, which correlates to our sight tapes here. So if this was my bow, I would actually take sight tape number 23 right there, and I'd put it on the dial. I've got my 20-yard pin indicator. I'd line that up. We're all good to go. So this isn't my bow. We're actually gonna give it away. So make sure you drop your comments below. Make sure you get entered to win this bow, and thanks so much for watching.